So you wouldn't normally think that fingernails and Gunpla have anything in common, but actually they do. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Gunprimer Raser. So first off, I'd like to say I'm not sponsored by Gunprimer. I bought this with my own money just to try it out. I was curious as to what the results would be like, and spending a week with it, I'm pretty satisfied, but surprised. So with that, let's go ahead and open up the box. Now starting off, we have the razor itself. It's a tiny little thing. It's probably about the size of my finger here. This you can buy alone for about $25. I'm not too sure on the exact pricing of it, but I'm pretty sure it's $25. So this is going to be the main piece of the kit. This is kind of what the new technology is regarding the Gunprimer Raser. What it is it's a glass file, meaning it's going to be pretty durable. It's actually pretty easy to clean, and it cuts pretty differently from a traditional sanding stick. I'll show you a little bit of that later. Next in the box, we have the balancer. This is going to be pretty typical of your standard nail buffer. It has one side for smoothing out some scratches, and the other side is for polishing it up. Now with mine, over the course of a week, I kind of used it a little too fast. There's a specific speed that you'll want to use this with, but mine is starting to deteriorate a little bit, which is kind of sad, but I believe this is probably around 15 or less by itself. Even so, this feels like just a typical nail buffer, so you could probably just get a regular one off Amazon for cheaper. And lastly, we have these recovery cloths. This is just denim. I mean, it works well for what it's marketed as, but I have shirts with the same material as this. It's not that special. Just kidding. There is one thing left, technically. They market the box as a box for your tools. What you do is you take out the foam insert here and you have space for your tools. The box itself is pretty solid. Yeah, I can see myself using this for my knives and pretty much everything except for my nippers. Those are a little too big to fit in here. So my main focus for the video today is on the razor itself. I won't go into too much detail about the recover cloth or the balancer just because they are pretty typical things, but I will show you a little bit of what it looks like to apply them. So the razor is very interesting to use. One, it's very easy to use. A unique property about this is it feels like it only cuts a raised edge. The difference between the razor and a sanding stick will kind of scratch all around wherever you're trying to apply it, but the razor itself kind of focuses on the nub. It's very interesting. It feels nice in the hand. It feels quality, even though it is pretty much just a glass slab with a raised sticker on it. The sticker kind of adds a little bit of ergonomics to it. It's just cleaner that way, and you're less likely to scratch another area, even though with a glass file in and of itself, it's pretty lenient to where you're applying it. Another thing is when you're using the razor is you can kind of feel when you're finished with a nub because it doesn't drag against that nub anymore. With a sanding stick, it kind of just keeps cutting into the part. You can't really tell unless you take it off and check it. With the razor, you can kind of keep going until you feel that there's less resistance and there's a smooth consistency over the part. I will note that using the razor has been faster than using sanding sticks, mostly because it cuts about the same as a medium grit sanding stick. However, it doesn't scratch as much. It usually leaves a relatively polished surface, and if it does scratch the part, it's more so like a fine grit sandpaper scratch. However, it isn't as fast as taking a good old pair of nippers and a hobby knife just to clean up the part, but the results are much more consistent. They are much cleaner, which is a good thing. You know, that's what we're paying for with this. Like a sanding stick, it still curves the edges of a part if you get too close or if you keep repeatedly using it on an edge. And another good thing about it is Gunprimer says that it doesn't get clogged up, but it pretty much does. What you can do is you could either wipe the plastic dust out with your finger, you can actually use the recovery cloth and wipe the dust out with that, or you can just run it under some water and wash it out. But anyways, let me go ahead and bring you guys up close and show you what it looks like to actually use these tools. So we're going to be taking a look at the cutting action of the razor first, and then we'll also go over a little bit about the balancer and the recover cloth. I have these two parts here. They are some arm parts from the MG Shining Gundam, which I'll be doing a review on in the future. I'm going to trim the nubs to about 0.5 millimeter, and then from there I'll go ahead and show you what the cutting performance looks like. First with the razor, then with just traditional sanding sticks. And this is what our first nubs will be looking like. Now with the razor, if you want to apply more pressure, it's better to do it in one direction at a time. You have a little more control that way. And it also works a little better if you trim down the part even closer than what I had it trimmed to. Once you get the nub a little smaller, you can use a faster motion. You just want to be careful not to put too much pressure. When you start to feel less resistance going in one direction, that's when you can switch it up and repeat the process going another direction. And here's the nub I have left when using just the Gunprimer Raser. With the sanding sticks, I'm using a pack of Squadron sanding sticks. You can get them for about $10. I'm going to go ahead and skip the gloss part for the sanding sticks just because I didn't use the balancer when doing this test with the razor. And that's about as far as I could get with the sanding sticks because they kept scratching these sides here besides the nub. Here's some pictures to show what it looks like as well. You can see that it's not as glossy, and there's also some stress marks where the nub was. Okay, and for this next test, I'm going to be cutting a nub down that is on a flatter surface to show you what that looks like with the razor as well. I find that with flat surfaces, I'm more likely to use the razor in a circular motion, just because it ensures I'm covering the entire nub. And there is our flat nub. As you can see, there's not really any stress marks around the nub, which is a good thing. And now we'll try it with the sanding sticks. I had to go back to the medium grit sanding stick because there's some deep scratches that I wasn't able to get out with the fine grit. And just for good measure, I went ahead and used the super fine grit for this one to kind of give its color back. Now these sanding sticks I'm using are pretty old, so they're not going to be as accurate. But even with that being said, the razor is a lot more forgiving regarding your technique in the process. And for this last nub, I'm going to be doing a time comparison between the razor and the sanding sticks, including the time it takes to trim down the nub to where I feel it's more comfortable. For the sanding sticks, I'm going to go ahead and skip the coarse sanding stick because I can get it a lot closer to the part, where I can skip to the medium grit sanding stick. And at this point, I pause the time just to get a new fine grit sanding stick. The other one wasn't really doing as much. So here we have the two parts. From a distance, they both look pretty similar, but close up in the pictures, you can see that the razor definitely did less marring around the part as well as to the nub, and it was definitely a lot quicker. And to show how the balancer works, I'm going to go ahead and do the work with the razor and then polish it up with the balancer. So here we have before the balancer, and it's already pretty glossy. I'd say it's pretty much the same semi-gloss as the rest of the part. And with the balancer, we use the dull light green side first. I don't know if you can tell there, but it gives it a more hazy appearance. And we'll gloss it up with the white side to give it a nice shine. So like I said, pretty standard of a nail buffer, nothing too special about it. And with the recover cloth, what you do is you scruff it up a little bit with the balancing tool, and instead of using the white side for it to give it a gloss, you use the denim cloth, recover cloth, to give it a semi-gloss shine. So I'll throw that up real quick after scuffing up both of these sides. So overall, is this worth $25? Is the package with this and the balancer and the recovery cloth worth $45? For the package, I would say no, just because it's pretty much the razor, a nail buffer, and ripped up jeans. But for the razor itself, yes, but no. What I mean by that is I think the idea of it is worth $25. Being able to speed up the sanding process, give you more consistent results, and also let you be more liberal with what you're doing with the part. Sure, that idea is worth $25. However, the razor already exists. This is a nail buffer I got off of Amazon, and it pretty much does the same thing. So I'll go ahead and link this below so that if you want to try it out, you can purchase it there. But I got this for $7 for 4 of these. And in the end, it pretty much does the same thing. But I will say the razor is kind of fine-tuned towards using it for Gunpla, in that the grit does feel more coarse, so it cuts faster. With this glass nail buffer, I was getting good results, but it was taking a lot longer. So I don't know if that's a thing with the razor, or maybe because this is a glass buffer and not a glass file. So that's the end of the review, guys. I hope you enjoyed my opinion on the Gunprimer Raser. I will end with saying that you don't need this tool. If you buy this tool, it's not going to make you a better builder. What it will do, though, is it will speed up your process. So I'll leave it up to you to decide if it's worth $25 or not. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Follow me here if you'd like to see my Twitch content of Gunpla building. I've also been streaming some Modern Warfare and new Gundam Breaker from time to time. And follow me here if you'd like to check out my Gunpla photography on my Instagram. Thank you guys so much. Hope you guys have a good rest of the day and start building.